Well, Chris, it's a little frigid out here today. How does the seam seem to be going? Seem to be going. Day 2, seemingly flawless.
Hey, what's up you guys? Chris at Team Aquascape here. Our latest episode is, you guessed it from looking behind me, we are back at Christ Community Church. If you remember, we did a large recreational pond earlier in the season. We are actually out here making it bigger. Laying out some fabric, we're gonna put some plywood down on top of that so that we protect everything, keep everything nice and clean, and then we're gonna make an addition right over into here. It's going to be awesome. Totally expanding the space for more people to use it. Stay tuned, this episode's gonna be killer.
You know, the whole plan is to make this thing bigger, and to do that, it's not as simple as you would think. So I don't know if you've heard this, but the same complaint we got 25 years ago is the same complaint we got this year, and will probably be the same complaint we get 25 years from now. Can you guess what that is? No. The answer is, I wish I made it bigger, and that's exactly what's happening out here at Christ Community. So as Chris said, we're gonna come out here. The game plan is to just kind of make this section over here bigger. So here's the original pond, back over in here. The kids love it so much, the church loves it so much, the parents love it so much, and so the idea to get a few more kids in here made a lot more sense to them. The plan is from about that rock there to about this rock here, which is only about 10 feet. We're gonna have that area come over into here. It'll kind of balloon out a little bit this way and then tie back into there. The challenging thing is I can't just seam onto this liner right here. You see all these enormous amount of folds that are in this? The seam tape will never ever adhere to all of those folds. So I have to get this liner nice and flat. In order to get it nice and flat, not only do I have to take out that rock, this rock, this rock, this rock, I probably have to take rock all the way out to about there, especially because I don't want this to be 6 inches deep coming over here and then drop back down. I want it to be down to that shelf down there, 18 inches deep. So I got to get this liner all the way down to there where I can start my seam, pull out all of these rocks. That part's not hard at all. The hard part is actually seaming the liner. Now, seaming the liner is not difficult, it's just super time consuming. So when we get to that point, let me show you the steps we take to make it go smooth and, more importantly, bomb proof. So it is almost the end of day 1. Pretty happy with our progress for 3 guys. We've got a pretty big hole here. We've got our liner exposed, have almost all of the dirt hauled away. So you can see the hole. We're a little over 18 feet from this edge all the way back to over there. We're a little bit more than 13 feet wide this way. It's probably closer to like 14, 15 feet this way, and we're at about 3 feet deep. Tomorrow's goal, and it's gonna take a while, but there'll be 3 people out here and we'll start doing this seam. And so the key to this seam, I don't know if you remember me talking about it before, is to get that liner flat. And you can see all of the wrinkles and folds we have in there now, even with removing all of those giant boulders over there. So those are the rocks that used to be in here. Those are going to get replaced in this area, and then some new stuff will go here. But tomorrow will be, most of the time is actually going to be spent trying to clean and prep this liner. Like I said before, seams aren't difficult, they're just super time consuming. So we have an enormous amount of time that's going to be spent just prepping this liner, getting all that mud and dirt and sediment and stuff off. You can see how filthy it actually is. And then we've got to get it flat. And so the aid of a 2x12 board under here, we can kind of create small little flat surfaces that we can seam on, and then shift that board down a little further, shift it a little further, so on, repeat. We'll be doing 2 seams. We're going to do a 4-inch seam as a preliminary seam, and then we'll do a 6-inch cover tape seam right over the top of it. I'm guessing the seam will take us about 4 hours on a 20-some foot seam here. Look forward to showing you guys that tomorrow. Till then. Well, Chris, it's a little frigid out here today. How does the seam seem to be going? So you've got a board underneath there. What are you guys using, a 2x10? And so you guys can see all of these folds and stuff. Instead of trying to get the seam tape to come up and over these things, we just take a board and we slide it and we just move it down a little bit at a time. This would be considered unfavorable, but with this thicker tape on here, we're pretty good. We also have a 4-inch seam tape underneath it as well. So between the 4-inch, this seam tape, and the expertise of these 3 guys, I think we'll be in pretty good shape. So the biggest challenge we have when seaming onto an existing liner is you can see all of these folds in here and here. So notice as Chris just kind of pulls it, and if he pulls it a little bit that way, it gets flat, and then if I pull it a little bit this way, we should be able to get that out of there. The key to this is don't try to get the whole thing flat at once. We do little 6-inch, maybe sometimes 12-inch, maybe even less a little bit at a time. We'll prime this section from here all the way to here, get this finished, and then we'll slide this whole liner down and then repeat. And then we'll be able to get this section flat and keep going. Trying to get it all flat at once is nearly impossible on existing pond. So this is why it's so time consuming. It's not hard, it's just super, super time consuming. So make sure you've left yourself enough time to do it. It's really easy to get this seam tape and start going off on an angle. You notice on the 6-inch cover tape here, there's actually a line right down the center. So I want to try to match that line up with the cut that these guys made earlier. So I just kind of go in and then just inch by inch, just make sure it goes down nice and flat. Now you see this bubble right here? You don't want to go over it too fast because you could get a big air bubble in underneath the seam tape. I just kind of keep rolling it out. I'll stop there, pull this back, and then I just want to make sure I get all of this on there nice and flat. And you can almost feel where those two liners overlapped, and so I really rub my finger along that. Get this on here, we'll pull this back, and then repeat. This is this extra thick fabric. You can see how thick this stuff is. When we're dealing with really rocky soil, especially with a lot of this kind of stuff down in the ground, we want to throw this stuff down whenever possible. It's a lot more money than the normal fabric, but it's still cheap insurance at the end of the day, because the other option is a hole in the liner. And to fix a hole in the liner at the bottom of this thing would be a pain in the butt. Finding it would be next to impossible. So the only way to fix a tiny little hole in the bottom is really to replace the entire liner. So putting down this thick fabric is just really cheap insurance.
I love it because now the hardest part for us is done, which was the seam. Most time consuming, most tedious. Now we get to have some fun and be artistic. And the neat part about it is now it's gonna be the first rock, and that's always the most important rock. If we screw that up, it's hard coming back from there. Okay, folks, we're back. We're back. Look, we're back. Hey, Brian.
Hi, Chris.
How'd we do?
I love it. It looks good. We're getting there.
Now that we've got the seam done, and obviously the people at home can see that we've already started rocking this in, what's the biggest thing that you're trying to focus on when we're rocking in a section of pond?
I think the challenge with something like this is, first, the round rock is a little harder to work with. And one of the key things we do is, instead of following the exact contours of the shelves, like for example, this rock would have effortlessly just gone all the way back up against this wall, but we intentionally set it away from the wall, knowing that we would have probably dig back here and set another one. Right, so you don't always have to set it exactly to the shape that you've excavated. There's lots of creative freedom. Just as important as maybe setting them off like this. So you set this one here because it matched up better.
Yep.
We'll backfill with gravel and then put some little ones here. We might find, as we get up into here, things don't sit perfect here. They might sit better here, or we always have extra liner, so we can pull this back and dig it back in.
Sure.
I guarantee that's what's going to happen over in there. So we'll pull that liner back. It's great that we have the extra liner to do that. Dig back and then carve them in place so they look like they've been there forever, rather than just randomly stacked.
Because you knew that big one right there was going to be well below water level, and that we needed to get something up higher back behind it, right? Because you can't stack the round rock on top of the round rock, otherwise it wobbles.
Exactly. And then little things like this. So instead of stacking these rocks directly on top of this one and trying to go vertical, it's more of a little landslide. So each rock doesn't actually sit on top of the next one. They're somewhat nestled back behind each level. Yep. You've done the same thing over here. It'd be really, really hard to get this rock balanced on top of this rock. So setting this rock out further from the wall, which sits way back here, set out here knowing we would kind of create this landslide effect going up through here. Mother Nature very, very rarely ever puts rocks on top of each other. They're more like this. Can you get that? No. Yes. When we're doing boulder ponds like this, we always order a lot of extra gravel with the intent of backfilling behind things. It would suck to have to pull this liner back, backfill with dirt. The other thing that happens is when you backfill with dirt, your liner gets shorter.
Yep.
So we backfill with gravel, it really helps stabilize everything, locks everything into place, and then keeps our liner long. I think the only other thing we have to address when this is done, obviously with this big cove back in here, at some point we're gonna have to do some jets back in this area. When we're adding another pump to push these jets, which is important just to kill the dead area, we're also gonna raise the water level in this pond. So if you come over here, this stone right here determines what our water level in the pond's gonna be. Water's gonna come over this, and right now it's probably only a ½ an inch above the top of this. With adding another pump, it's gonna raise the water level that much more. The water level that might breach all of our edges along the existing pond, so we probably have to pull this rock out and get something a little thinner in here just to keep all of the edges on the existing pond high enough.
Gotcha. Obviously, for the viewers out there, they are seeing the final push, right?
Finishing the edges. You guys finished getting the down here. This looks great, so it matches the section that we did over there.
Yep.
I like it. I think it'll look great. I love the addition. I think it looks like it's just part of the pond. It was really important that we still got some really big rock in there, so it all had this kind of cohesive look to the whole thing. It's getting down to the wire. Let me show you guys one thing with the edges over here. A lot of times we don't have to do dirt edges all the way around. Anytime it goes in like that, gravel, when you get these big flat areas like this is what we would call the dirt edge. And the way they've done this is correct. They fold the liner like so, and then the idea is that you push the dirt up here as tight as you possibly can on the back side of this. Then when the dirt comes over the top, the little bit that would go in between here and the rock is insignificant. There's no way you'll ever get that here. So if it rains here, Chris, here. If it were to rain here and we try to do a dirt edge, all that dirt would just flow into here. So come back here. What I would rather see is gravel in here. Then if it washed in, the gravel is almost like a pre-filter, and it helps keep all of that dirt from washing down and changing the water quality.
Oh yeah. How we doing, everybody? Hey, so the scene behind me has changed a little bit since earlier in the video. Overnight we got about 3 inches of snow and it dropped about 40 degrees. So, but we finished. And I just want you guys to see what it looks like completely full and what the extension of the pond, what it adds to the feature itself. So check this out. Woo! Look at that. Gosh, I mean, I would say we added 50% more square footage for people to get in. You can see the circulation jets over here. See the ripple in the water. It just looks beautiful. It's crystal clear. The slate bottom, that really cool railing over there was added. Of course, the waterfalls is running as well. So it just looks incredible. So as you can see, everything turned out fantastic. I wish you guys could actually see more of the rock work. Unfortunately, Mother Nature threw us a little curveball and we're not gonna be able to show you that by the end of the video. So, because the extended forecast does not look good for this snow to melt, for us to get you the content that you want. Hey, listen, everything turned out fantastic here at Christ Community for their pond edition right behind me. If you like what you saw, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to our channel. Push that little bell in the top corner so that you stay up to date with all of the new content that Team Aquascape is coming out with. But feast your eyes. Everything turned out A-okay. Till next time, peace.